I don't know what you're doing, so I'm just letting you do what you. Okay.
Okay, so now we are live.
We're
Hello,
live. Hi,
Hyesha.
guys.
It's
It's
our
our first
first live
time.
together.
Yes. This is very exciting. One
Very
of
exciting.
many. Yes, this is
Yes.
the beginning.
Do you wanna start, Aisha, by presenting yourself and telling us why we wanted to do this live together? Because we've been friends for a very long time. We've been
We have.
working on courses for more than 2 years. We live
We have.
together in Muscat. So you're based in Muscat right now. I'm in Paris.
Yes.
But the series of live was very dear to us. Would you
Yes.
like to start by presenting yourself and the
100%.
reason of us being here?
Yes, of course. So, as you said, Shaz, we have been working on this for so long now. You and I have, we met ages ago and we've gelled and we have the same sort of ethics, the same values, the same desire to help, to serve, to be present, to just give back. And so we have finally come to some sort of alignment where what Shaz does and what I do really collaborates well. And so I think right now is a good time to start. We had also, we're working on a webinar, we're working on our course, and we're working on our workshop as well. So hopefully, when people listen to this live, they want more, then obviously we'll go further deeper into our course and into our workshops as well, right? So I'm a coach, I'm a life coach, I'm a master life coach, I'm a parent coach, I'm a relationship coach. I've been doing this for the past 15 years now. And I just feel very blessed to be able to do something that I'm very passionate about. And I feel really, really deeply, soulfully connected to this work. So I think this was literally just the next step. And so doing it with you, Shaz, is like a dream come true. So it's great.
Yeah.
Me
Yes.
and Masha.
And why so I'll just remind people the subject of the first live together is a lot of people like us in the past want to they have a desire, a dream. They want to change. They feel like they know what drives them, but they feel stuck. And we have decided to take this first subject, the subject as our for our first live, because this is an example that we keep on seeing in all our session, in our life, all around us. So, would you like to start by explaining
Stars. Yeah. So,
how is this
so
possible?
Yeah, and so our live today is called "Why Do We Feel Stuck Even When We Want Change?" Right? So I think we all need to realize that this is pretty much something that happens to almost everyone. We wake up one day and we basically decide that today is the day, right? Today I'm going to change, or today I'm going to set that boundary, or today I'm going to leave that relationship, or whatever it may be. Start the business, stop the pattern. And maybe for like 2 or 3 days, maybe a week, maybe with willpower, and we'll come into that later as well, that willpower is not enough. We feel that possibility. We can do this, right? And then so something shifts, something gets a little bit quieter, we get more comfortable to stay where we are, and that familiar pain starts to feel safer than the unfamiliar possibility. And we're basically back into that loop again. It's basically a constant loop that we're in, and we're in exactly the same place where we started. Hence why when we do, what's it called, New Year's resolutions, they last for maybe just a couple of days, a couple of weeks, but then we always resort back to our default setting, if you will. And so most people basically blame themselves. They end up basically saying that, oh, I'm lazy, or I have weak willpower, or I'm not disciplined enough, I'm not motivated enough. But that's not really what's happening beneath the surface, right? What the real issue is that one part of us genuinely wants to change, but another part of us is basically, resisting it. That's the younger protective part. And that believes that change is potentially dangerous. And so we have this internal conflict constantly. And that's where stuckness actually lives, right? It's not in your willpower. It's in the war that you want and that what you're unconsciously afraid of. So that's in essence that. And I'd like to go also deeper into understanding a little bit more about that, like the neuroscience of safety and also, understanding about the subconscious programming, why willpower isn't enough. And we can even talk about the role of childhood conditioning behind this, which leads us to what my work is, which is inner child healing. Very conscious that we only have 30 minutes on this live here. So obviously it can go into a few more different lives thereafter. But that's in essence what I would love to talk about. What about you, Shaz?
It's very interesting what you're saying. So basically, you consider that the stiffness, like the blockage that we can feel in our life, the moment we want to move towards something that drives us, um, is located in the mind. So we have that internal conflict that is very unconscious and that comes from a fear.
100%. It comes from
Yeah.
a fear, it comes from a patterning, it comes from a conditioning, it comes from basically our childhood. Anywhere between the ages of 0 to 7 years old is, and it's crazy to believe that, because a lot of us think that, oh, a 7-year-old, they don't know anything. They don't feel anything. They don't understand anything. But my God, 0 to 7 years old, and all of our values, all of our conditioning, all of our pattern gets instilled in our mind, in our memory, in our body. And from there on forth, we basically act accordingly, we behave accordingly in the world to how our default setting is. And so if you believe that you're not worthy enough, if you believe that you will never change, if you believe that the world is a scary place, you will consistently believe that into an adult unless you change that patterning.
And my question to you would be, why in childhood would we create, let's say, protective behavior or belief that will limit our natural impulse or natural drive? Like, why would we create patterns that go against our joy and happiness, Aisha?
Yeah,
Like,
it's crazy,
from
isn't it?
childhood.
From childhood, because the thing is, we've learned from our parents, we've learned from our conditioning, we've learned from our culture or our society or the things that we see around us, that okay, if mama's treating me that way, or if mama makes me feel this way, then obviously I have to believe that. I have to believe exactly what I'm thinking, because what is showing to me. Otherwise, the world is a scary place. Most of our core beliefs were formed before we had the ability to think critically about them, right? Like children are not meaning making machines like adults are. A child doesn't ask, like, what's happening to my parent today. A child will usually ask, what's wrong with me? What does that mean about me? Right? And so, as an example, let's say a parent is withdrawn or emotionally unavailable, so the child will conclude, I'm not important enough to show up for. Or let's say a parent is highly critical. The child will conclude, I have to be perfect to be loved. Or let's say a parent is, unpredictable. The child will basically deduce and understand, I need to stay hyper vigilant. I have to become a people pleaser. I have to always be watching to make sure that things are okay. And so they're not able to step into their own worth, right? And so, or another example could be where a parent rewards achievement over presence. And this happens a lot for our high achievers out there. I see you guys, I'm one of those as well, where the child will eventually conclude that my value, my worth comes from what I do, not who I am, right? And so, unfortunately, there's so many examples that I can give you that that it's instilled in childhood, and so by adulthood, we've forgotten these moments. A lot of us, especially, who say, "Actually, I don't remember my childhood, but our body remembers." Okay, and this is our subconscious pattern. This is our subconscious mind. This is our inner child speaking at this point. They're not conscious these moments, but these beliefs have become part of our operating system. Let me give you a little metaphor. Um, Imagine someone puts on a pair of red tinted glasses, right? When you're 5 years old. Like your parents put them on for you. But you forget that they're there. But 20 years later, you're walking around saying, why is everything so red? Why is the world so dark? And it's not the world, it's your lens. So we need to understand that what we're wearing and what we see, that's our perception of what we see through. But once we are able to remove those lenses and understand things differently, then we're able to make a change.
Oh, that's very interesting. And I agree with you 100% because I see it now in the patient that I follow that everything's like the pattern that we carry as adults. We
Yeah.
believe we behave like adult, but we're still like, like those little children that have ingrained those fear from childhood. And we have not come out of that, even as adults.
Yeah.
And we're not logical beings. We're purely emotional beings, and that's what people need to understand. We're
Yeah.
driven by emotions and belief
Yeah.
that we have
And
given our
yeah,
agreement to.
100%, 100%. We have to realize that, the circumstance that is happening in this present day is usually not, our reaction isn't what's happening right now. We're basically time traveling to a younger part of us and we're reacting from that part. So that is why change is so difficult to do, because we're always reacting from a younger part of us until we become conscious, until we become more aware. Then things shift, things can change, but it's not a one-time fix all, right? It's constant. We have to start realizing, okay, my default setting is this path. What can I do to create that change? And that takes time, takes energy, it takes effort.
I absolutely agree with you. And I'll tell you something from experience. And as we're friends, you know that about me. I always underestimated what we call the inner child work.
Hmm.
I was like, this is not going to change my behavior, my patterns, my program of today. But then I experience it for myself. I realized so my biggest problem in life is me being in a relationship with a man. And you know that. So that's what I would like to move towards, but it's impossible. The moment I meet someone, I'm frozen. And you know that. I've shared so many experiences with you where I feel completely physically frozen and where I feel like I'm not worthy of that relationship or that man. I'm like, oh, I'm not good enough. And then, so when I did those regression into my childhood, and even from the moment I was born, so it's interesting. You talk about the inner child. We can go even more remotely. We can even look at the way we were born, the way we were conceived. So if we were not conceived out of desire, then it will be very hard for us to feel desired and loved in our life. And I felt it in some regression. We call it descent in the body. So that's what I do. And I saw myself being that, not even that little child, I saw myself being that fetus in my mom's womb, where I felt like, so there was a conflict between my parents. My mother didn't want to keep me. My father was, fighting with my mom to not do the abortion. And when I felt it in my body, it was like, oh, yes, that's what I felt throughout my life without understanding it, that I am not loved and I'm a rejected child. And this is exactly what I
Wow.
feel when I want to be in a relationship with a man. So you're
Yeah.
absolutely right that
It's
it's
so, thank you for for sharing that, Shaz. It's so powerful. The fact that you felt rejected from the womb. Imagine from inside your mother's womb, the beliefs that you gathered from then until now. It's crazy. That's honestly, honestly crazy. And thank you for sharing that. That's so, so, so powerful and so, raw as well. And I'm sure so many people can not only align with that, but also can feel what you've gone through as well. I also want to mention, Shaz, as well about our subconscious programming. It's quite interesting how it really, really affects everything. Because as you mentioned, you got it from in the womb, and even probably from before that as well. Because I'm a big believer as well in past lives, in ancestral damage as well. In we carry basically all of our ancestral beliefs as well, and only when we actually start releasing those in this day and age are we able to no longer bring that to our children, right? And so we have to realize that, and this is such a crazy statistic that blows my mind all the time, that between 90% to 95% of our behavior comes from the subconscious mind. Only 5% do we actually do consciously, which is crazy, right? And so we have to realize that our conscious mind is like the captain on the ship. It does say, I want to change, I'm ready. I'm ready to change. Like we know we want to change. I want to change. But our subconscious mind, which runs 95% of the ship, is the entire crew below deck, right? And so if the crew is not willing to change, and if the crew is not agreeing with the captain of the ship will not go anywhere. You know, let's think about habits, any habit, whether it's smoking, whether it's scrolling, whether it's sex, whether it's overeating, whether it's people pleasing, whether it's procrastinating, anything that we know it's a habit. When we first developed that habit, our subconscious mind, our conscious mind was involved. We made a choice. But after constant repetition, and this happens faster than we think, that behavior gets filed into our subconscious mind system, basically, and now we just do it automatically. And so, but then the question begs, like, why is our subconscious so stubborn to change, right? Because it's protective. It's being protective because at some point in our life, obviously in childhood for sure, or even sometimes it could be recent experiences. We can't only just blame our childhood, but we learned a pattern that kept us safe and helped us cope, and so from then on forth, that protective part, which we view as self-sabotage, actually is there to help us. And so that's something that we have to realize, that these programs were adaptive back then. They helped us. They protected a younger self, but now they become maladaptive, especially in our adult because we're no longer that young person. But what once protected us is now imprisoning us. And we have to realize that, and that's the tragedy, that our subconscious mind is still running the same program on repeat long after the threat has passed. And that's what we have to realize, that we can change, but we have to put in that conscious effort to change.
I cannot agree more with you, but this is probably where you'll tell me if this is where we differ or not. I believe that the subconscious mind that drives, that is at the core of our self sabotaging behavior, is stored in the body that we call
Tell me
the
more
body
about
armor.
that.
So, yeah,
Yeah.
I came to the understanding that we're first sensation that then creates the emotion that then creates the thought.
Okay.
So I do believe that the self sabotage starts in the body, and the body has its own programming, its own intelligence that will force us to develop those behavior, those patterns that are against our natural drive. So we want to change, we have the desire to change, but the body is stuck first. And that stuff, that stiffness, that feeling stuck is in what
Yeah.
we call the fascia of the body. So why do I tell you that? So this is something we can really develop in the next slides, because I'll give you an example. A week ago, so I have a patient, and she comes for she. So her problem in life is that she's lost. She's lost. She doesn't know the new direction in her life. She doesn't have meaning in her life. Okay, she comes, and then we get into the body descent. So in the pure sensation, it's like sophrology, but basically we just stay very in touch with the pure sensation. Okay, so we not shut down the mind, but we just pay attention to the pure sensation. And so she did a regression herself, and she herself described that she has an armor that was extremely heavy, and there was a conflict between that armor that was protecting her and attention, the fear of losing her life. And then that armor was suffocating her. And I have many examples like that of people describing their body, like a road block.
Hmm. Hmm.
something that prevents you, that suffocates you, that is very heavy to carry.
Yeah.
And so I did my research and I realized that there is a guy called William Rage who has developed that principle, that the body armor. He called that the body armor, that looks like rings, that really suffocate certain areas. So
Okay.
you have 7 rings. So you have the pelvic, the abdominal,
Mhm.
the diaphragmatic, the thoracic, etc. And then how? So people very often will develop those what we call chronic pain.
Mhm.
When people
Mhm.
have like shortage of breath, they have sciatic, they have SPM, they have a very strongly built body. So it's as if the psychological patterns will have a physical manifestation in the body.
Mm. Is that why oftentimes, Shaz, when some people go to the doctor with pains that they've had for so long, but the doctor's like, you have a clean bill of health. There's nothing wrong with you. Your bloods are perfect. Your bones are everything is perfect. But there's pain. There's pain that is heavy, and it's been, stopping them from movement. Is that is that why? Is that why? Because the body stores all of these memories and stores all of this pain.
From my discoveries and research, I came to the conclusion that yes, the
Mm,
stiffness are first a
mm,
conflict that is crystallized in certain in the fascia of the body, and
mhm,
then the mind will create a belief that, how can I explain that justify that stiffness. So
mm,
the the body is designed, it's the body is purely intelligent, it is purely designed, it is devoted to preserve life, to protect
mhm,
us from danger. So surprisingly the body will block movement if it perceives movement as danger. Oh, I really want to meet that man. Oh, I really want to create that project. Oh, I really want to leave my parents. Oh, I really want to express. I really want to express my opinion, but I can't do it because the body will have perceived that as danger. And
mhm.
you would come to the same conclusion and you would say the unconscious mind perceives that as danger.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
I would say
And yeah, go ahead.
I would say that perhaps the blockage, the core origin, the root cause of that unconscious danger is also stored in the body. And it starts at during the uterine life when we're pure sensation. We're not a mind. We don't have a brain. During the 9th month of pregnancy, you are pure sensation. And yet the body armoring is already developing in the mother's womb.
Mm. So if the mother was kind and said kind things and was loving to herself and to the baby, and she was surrounded by love and attention and affection, and you feel that, and vice versa, if a baby was like, let's say, growing up in a war-torn country or around abuse, around all that, then the body would feel the score, right? So it's crazy. It's crazy how we develop that into our adulthood as well. So how would you then help people, Shaz, to remove this stored pain and stored energy that 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 sometimes relinquishes movement and within this fascia? Like, what's a practical tool that we can give someone today? Like we're reaching we're at 24 minutes now. We're gonna have a little bit.
We'll have
Time has
part
gone.
2, 3 until 8
Yeah.
anyway.
Yes, exactly. But it'd be nice to have a little bit of maybe some sort of, I don't know, tool or thought or something that someone can walk away with to release this stored up pain. And I will also give a practical tool as well.
Yes, and I will only share what works for me, okay? The journey that I have walked through. I have realized that my personal journey, what works for me is to rediscover my body, to inhabit my body, because it feels like I'm cut from, I was for a very long time cut from my own sensation and emotion. I was living outside of my body. So now, with my practices that I'm going to describe, I start listening to what my body has to say, like paying attention to this part of me that is suffering. So I have to also give a little bit of background that you're very aware of. I've been suffering from bulimia probably 15 or 20 years now. And I realize that, why do I keep that self-destructive patterns where there's this other side of me that really wants to take care of myself, but I can't get out of this prison, that self-sabotaging that is very painful. So that my inner journey was to feel that body through movement, through movement. So now I explore what we call movement medicine, through like a very slow movement, anti-gymnastic movement. This is one part, and the second part is dancing. And in the dance, so I, of course, there is someone with me who accompanied me in that process, and that's exactly what I do also with my patient. Is I meet that wounded part of me through the movement. And I realize that I can dialogue now. I can create a relationship with my body when I just let that wounded part to express itself. And now when it feels heard, when it feels loved, then there's the conflict just is no more there. And I realize that the more I do that, the moment the body doesn't have to defend itself, then everything outside of me in my life starts to open up.
Mm.
But then I would
Beautiful.
love that in the future life with you.
Great. What I'm gathering from what you're saying as well is that you started dissociating a lot, which makes complete
Yes.
sense, because if you had grown up from the womb, not with the belief that you were not loved, that you would be rejected, that you would feel abandoned, then obviously your soul would want to disassociate from your body and try and find, meaning elsewhere. Makes sense. And so what I'm also hearing as well about you doing movement and dance, you're actually connecting back to your body. You're coming back into the
Yes.
body. You're grounding yourself. You're becoming more present. And that's exactly my work as well. When I have a lot of dissociative people who it's very, very normal, you, with all the examples that I've given you already, like when we feel like we're not loved, seen, understood, the basic needs that any child needs to have, we will try and find that elsewhere. But imagine a child who's grown up in a household where the parent shouts at them. You can't fly, you can't flee, you can't fight, you freeze. And where are you in that moment in time? Your body is here, but your mind is elsewhere. And so coming back into the present moment, grounding yourself, doing breath work, doing shaking, EFT, like journaling, all of these wonderful tools helps us to no end. And so that's something that I do to make sure that I'm more present in the moment. And it helps me. It does help me to ground me.
Oh, I cannot agree more with you. Um, you know, the you will agree with me when I say that the body doesn't do, or the mind doesn't do anything without reason.
Mm,
And the main reason is protection.
mm,
So
mm,
if we pay tribute to that body that is just devoted to protect us,
mm.
then things will start unfolding.
Yeah.
And that's maybe the conclusion to this live. And I'm super excited to go deeper into that subject with you, because we have just touched base on, like that the conflict between the mind and the desire, the conflict between the body and the desire. And yeah, so we'll have series of lives where we're going to get deeper into the conflicts, the paradox that we live in our life, and that nobody, like a lot of people do not have answers to. and it's going to be very interesting. Do you have a conclusion, Aisha?
Yeah, I think that this is an amazing first live. Time has flown by, and I can't wait to go much deeper into understanding more about the subject, more about the subconscious patterning, some inner child work, all of these things that really will help us and our listeners as well to move through the pains that are keeping us stuck. And but also to realize, guys, that you're not broken. There is nothing wrong with you. You are simply running a old pattern that has been there with you for so long. But with conscious effort, with us to help you along the way, with the desire and the love for yourself, which is very important as well. Because I see that a lot with my clients. Our harsh inner critic is so loud, and our harsh inner critic, mine included, she has a really loud voice. And why do I listen to her more? I listen to her so much more than my inner coach, than my inner cheerleader. But we'll come into that as well in later lives, where we can even name our parts, we can understand the parts, and we can bring light to her, or him as well. And we can, it's through understanding these parts that we, so yeah.
Absolutely. I love that conclusion. And I will just add one more thing, that um, the body is can be also your ally into your expansion. Whatever you want to create in life, whatever potential that is stored in you that you want to express, the body is supportive of that the moment you just start paying attention to what the message that it keeps on sending you, that
I
we
love.
usually deny. So
Yes.
again, more tools in the next coming lives.
Yeah, definitely. So it's all about body, mind, and soul connection.
Yeah, we're gonna come to the alignment in a few months.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone, for
Thank you, my
joining. It's so
love.
nice. Thank you,
See you very
darling.
soon, Aisha.
See you very soon. Bye.